Looks like we're just about there. Okay, looks like we're live. And
All right, all set to get going. Just say my name if you need me, as usual.
okay, perfect. Thank you, John.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, this is the Northborough Cultural Council. I am Terry Underwood, and I'm calling the meeting to order for Thursday, February 25th at 6:38 p.m. And so, as we have in all of our meetings, I need to read the information about remote meetings. This open meeting of the Northborough Cultural Council is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Cultural Council, Northborough Cultural Council, allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows Northborough Cultural Council to meet entirely remote as so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations at the meeting, and the public is encouraged to follow along with a posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless the participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comments. Okay, and with that, I think our first item is the approval of the minutes from February 18th. And I need to take attendance, so I should do that first. Bick
Here.
and Selby
Here.
and Craig
Here.
and Suzanne
Here.
and Leslie.
Yeah.
And I'm here. Okay. And okay, so next is the minutes from February 18th. Thank you so much, Bick. Does anybody have any comments?
You should all have a revised version in your email with the grant table in it.
Yes, yes.
So just a discussion point. I don't know what's needed here. The minutes say I proposed a subcommittee to work on something, and then Julianne was kind enough to come back and say we would need to structure differently, I believe. So should we change the minutes, or do we just leave the minutes on what I proposed, and then this time we specify that that's not the path that we're going down?
Which subcommittee motion was on the wall, Craig?
I don't think you have to include that change. That's what happened at that meeting.
That's fine.
Now you talk about what she said.
Got it.
Then,
Yeah.
Okay. And so with that, would anybody like to make a motion on the minutes from February 18th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 18th.
Okay.
I second that. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh.
I second the motion.
No, 3 people. So Suzanne, okay.
Suzanne, okay. And let's go for a vote. Vic,
I approve.
okay. Selby,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
and Leslie.
Yes.
Oh, and yes, so that's unanimous. Okay, treasurer's report. Is there anything at this time?
We have received no new grant reimbursement requests since we last talked, and we have not had any other expenses other than one. We had one submitted for reimbursement for office supplies postage, and that was it.
Okay. And with that, move on to the next meeting date. So question, is everybody still okay with 6:30? Does that work? Because, we can do something about that if that's not working.
The next one we had set was for March 11th, 2 Thursdays from now, and that's the only one we have.
Okay,
At this
March
time.
11th, okay. And so we're going to be setting a date for, hopefully we get to set a date for the grant reception. So I just want to throw that in there. So we can set a tentative date for the 25th, just so we can put that on our calendars. And then once we get the date, if we need to change that, if there's anything to discuss, I suggest that we can change that if necessary, but at least have it on our calendars.
Terry, would that, just to clarify, would that be for a meeting or for our grantee reception?
Just for a meeting, just a placeholder. And if we don't need it, great. If we do need it, fine.
Okay,
But just to put something preliminarily on our calendars. But for grant reception, I think that's something we really need to talk about tonight and how to go forward. So everybody okay with the 25th? Just placeholder. Okay, 6:30 still okay? Okay, and again, that's just for our calendars for right now. I just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, and okay, grantee reception planning. So what are you guys thinking? Everything used to be at the library and looks like virtual. And I dropped the ball in requesting information from Diane Wackel at the town hall on how to proceed on what this would look like for us. Can we do it like we're doing now? Or what is the necessary format? So I don't have information to give to you. I did send her an email and she won't be available till Monday. So given that information, if we need to, what I am suggesting is that we could use the 25th as our grantee reception if necessary. But who would be available? So that's the scenario if we needed to have it on a night where we have to have a Zoom meeting with the town. If we don't need to have it with the town on a Zoom meeting, then somehow we just advertise it every way we've been doing so far and try to get people to come. Does anybody have any suggestions or thoughts or anything further until I receive information from Diane? Selby?
sorry, Leslie, go ahead. Leslie wanted to say,
Am I available? No, go ahead, Selby, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, I kind of like the idea of during a Zoom meeting, because I kind of like that we have this little emblem up here, the logo. It makes it look a little more official.
Oh,
I agree. I like the Zoom/hybrid idea we discussed last week for those grantees who may not be able to attend. They'll be able to send their material if they so choose. I do think though 25th would be too soon and maybe not give enough prep time both for us and for our grantees.
okay.
I would agree with that sentiment. The 25th is too tight because if we send out acceptance letters by the 1st, so this weekend we should be sending that out. And then if we're asking them to provide like slideshow materials, if they can't make the date, then we have to give them maybe to the 12th. That's 2 weeks for them. By the time they think about it, they're probably going to work on it over the weekend. That's only 1 weekend to work on it, and then we have to turn around and package everything together as well. So that would be too early.
Okay. So potentially then I guess I'm going to leave that out in the air then until unless somebody has an idea of,
I'm just gonna throw out the 18th of April or the
Oh.
11th. 11th may be more doable if we don't feel like there's a lot of work, but 18th would definitely be ample time and give people until, like, say, the middle of March, like the 17th of March, to give us info.
That's a Sunday. Is that what you want to do?
No, the 18th is not a Sunday.
It is a Sunday.
It is a
The
Sunday.
18th is not a.
On my
March or
schedule-
April?
Oh, March. I'm on the wrong. I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong month.
Which month?
I'm on the wrong month. So
So the tax day is April 15th and it's a Thursday. And the
So-
schools go into April vacation. That Friday is the
We do?
last Friday before April vacation.
Oh,
So I suggest we do it either before or after April vacation, if possible, the week before or the week after.
I'm gonna lobby for like the 12th, something before, because afterwards it sort of gets too much. And we're in a whole different mode following vacation. We're in more of a, we're just in a different mode. So I would recommend before.
I agree, maybe like the 14th. We normally have done them on a Wednesday or Thursday night, and that seemed to have worked out okay so far.
So that's maybe the 15th-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. Or even the week before in April. I don't think that's pushing it the week before. The week of the 8th, like the 8th, I think
Yeah.
that's doable.
yeah.
I think that's better than the 15th, simply because tax day is the 15th and people may be scrambling. I don't know. I think the 8th or the
Mhm.
7th would be ideal. I think that's plenty of time to turn things around.
I
So-
think so
Good
too. If you can plan tonight, that's a good target date to have.
So I would like to chime in for the 8th, the 7th and the 14th for me. I work those nights. So I just won't be available, but if
Yep,
every
sounds
the 8th can work for everyone, that's
Nope.
fine with me.
Did you say the 7th you have to work too?
Well, so I cover the school committee meetings in Northborough and then regional, so they're always on Wednesday nights.
What about Tuesday, the 6th?
Tuesday's fine.
Does that work for anyone? Tuesday? the 6th?
She said 8 work too.
8th. What's wrong with the 8th, Leslie?
Because
you-
Terry can't be there.
No, the
No, the
8th is
7th.
fine. That's a Thursday.
Fine.
She can't be there on
Oh,
the
I
7th.
thought you said the 7th or the 8th. Okay.
She had said Wednesday or Thursday, so I said that's the 7th or the 8th.
Okay. I thought she had
I'm
it.
fine all 3 days, so I will
Oh,
go
the
with
8th is
whoever.
great.
Yeah.
The 8th works.
So the 6th or the 8th?
Let's just go with the 8th. Do we want to make a motion? Do we need to make a motion or just
Just
the
pick it.
8th?
I
Well,
motion that we hold the virtual the virtual grantee reception on April the 8th.
I second the motion.
Okay. All right, and so show of hands, Vic.
Aye.
And so, any discussion?
Um,
Further discussion.
That date is perfect as long as we can get a Zoom date from the town for that to
Right.
happen. If not, we have to revisit the date.
Okay.
And maybe look at the 6th as the backup if the 8th falls through.
Yeah. And do we want to just decide on time as well? So we can do a date and time. That way Terry can ask for that reservation.
I amend my motion to say have the grantee reception on Thursday, April 8th at 7 p.m.
Okay,
to 8:30 p.m.
I amend my second motion.
okay.
I agree.
And
7 o'clock.
I'm going to say, based on that the day in the month that it or where it falls in the month, that most likely, given zoning, planning, and other meetings that tend to be Monday through Wednesday, that we will have less of an issue reserving the 8th, a Thursday. That's just my assumption, based on when a lot of meetings are held. So, all right, so show of hands with an amendment. Vic,
Aye.
Selvey,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
and Leslie.
Yes.
And yes, so that is unanimous. So we have a date of April 8th, 7 p.m. And so that is the date we're shooting for unless something comes up, we can't get the date. And in terms of discussing the format, I also like that John has put up the seal, which is looks really nice. So if we do it in the format of a Zoom meeting, the questions that would come from that, I guess, would be, do each of the panelists, I'm just rounding the numbers, say there's 20 people that could say something if they wanted to, which we hope they could come, and that would be a big assumption. They would just come in, or John would let them in, and then go one after the other. And I don't know if we have to have a specific order based on who is available or who is able to show that night, but it would be nice to do something live.
So Terry, that's called a webinar.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that is a little bit different. These meetings are pretty much, the public can view them, but they can't join in the meeting.
Got it.
So a webinar, you would all be invited as panelists and come in like you are. And then to be a whole separate category of people that would be waiting to get in if they wanted to make a comment or, you know, whatever. And the moderator, you know, there's a little emoji that they raise their hand on the list, and we let them in, they say their piece, we kick them out. And it's a little bit more intricate, but it, you know, it's definitely doable.
Okay.
John,
Yes.
could we have grantees that we're giving money to, and this is what this is all about.
Yep.
Could the grantees come on to this whole meeting, a Zoom meeting with us?
Yes,
Not
without
a
being
webinar, but invite them
Yes.
to join.
right. So a meeting like this, you could invite a private person to come in and participate. A webinar is completely open to the public.
Well, that part, that could be the public, but we might want to invite our grantees.
No, but I mean anybody from the public.
Okay.
So if you just wanted to invite a specific person, we would keep it as a meeting, and then we would let that person into the meeting. But
Okay.
a webinar, now you open it up to the general public. So you could have 100 people out there that want to come in and,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
that's what we
John, don't
want.
I understand that usually there's a mechanism for them to post their questions in text form on webinars, and then a moderator can read their questions?
that's a
with the
good question.
exception-
Yeah, that's a
Huh?
good question. I do not know the answer to that. I haven't
Okay.
I think I've only done like one webinar. And
And what
the
program
other-
does the town use?
I'm sorry.
What application does the town
Oh,
use?
it's a Zoom meeting.
It's a Zoom webinar.
It's a Zoom
Okay.
meeting. Yep. And the thing with the webinars is we have one license for the webinars. We have 3 for meetings. So we could have 3 meetings on one particular night, but only one webinar at a time. So you'd have to
Okay.
you know, get with Diane and Linda and schedule it a little bit in advance to make sure that your place is set.
So, John, actually, it would be, and I wonder what my council members think too, would be ideal maybe to invite our grantees as participants in the meeting.
Yes.
But at the end, open it up as a webinar to public if they have questions or if they want to meet any of the grantees.
Yeah, it's either one or the other.
It's either one or the other. So
Yes,
we can invite a guest or
but yes, you could still do that. You could so you were all considered like participants in this meeting. Whereas if somebody wasn't invited, but they wanted to join the meeting, they'd be kind of like in a separate category as like attendees. I think it's what it's called. And so they'd be able to still watch the YouTube video. And then if they wanted to come in, they'd press a button and we'd let them in. The participants you're talking about, Selvey, we'd know in advance that they would be in the same category as you and Suzanne and Craig and Leslie, and that we'd let them come in as their time allotted.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
So we've done webinars with colleges and stuff where a whole bunch of parents that they have faculty on the screen, and all the parents out there in the audience type in their messages, and only the moderator sees them and
Yep.
decides which ones to answer
Yeah.
or which ones
Yeah.
to say, okay, Suzanne's
So-
asked whether or not, the sky is blue, and the moderator would say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
or
I
if
could
there's
look into
something-
that. I mean, typically the webinars that we host are a lot smaller in size than what you're talking about. So I'm not really sure how that would work. Yeah, Leslie?
Yeah, my thing is at the grantees reception, when we have it, we don't have a question period. It's just a ceremony to give people their certificates, or to, say, here, you're one of the grantees, and they can say something.
Yeah.
I don't know why
Yeah.
we have to have a question and answer period.
No, because Leslie, it acts as the meet after when
Oh,
everything's
after.
over and people are like coming up. Oh, I'm so interested in what I heard, what your your organization does. Do you have more information?
That's
They can't
exactly
do that, so now they're going to have to type and say, could you give me the contact number to so and so, or whatever.
Yeah.
Where can I go to find more info?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
probably all
So,
of that.
so Leslie, what you're talking about
Thank
is
you.
you'd invite them
That's-
to the meeting, and they would be in what Zoom calls the waiting room. And when their time came to get their reward, we'd let them in. You'd speak to them, give them whatever spiel you did, and then they would go back, and then you'd let the next person in. A webinar is completely open to the general public.
In a webinar, though, can you control the microphone and who can speak?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
what typically they're out waiting, and they're looking from outside. And when you let them in, we open up the microphone, and if they get out of hand, the microphone goes off and they get kicked out, which
Or-
very rarely
And the good
happens.
thing
But
about
People
that-
get distracted and their dogs bark or something.
yes, absolutely.
And the good thing about
Sure.
that, like Vic said, is that we normally have this hour, 45 minutes to 60 minutes after we've presented the awards, where people stay and they talk, and the public says exactly like Vic said, I really like that. That'd be a great project. Where'd you learn about that? And that's what if we don't do a webinar, we won't have that community engagement. I'm not saying anybody will come and want to be
No, no.
engaged. And they don't actually show up on film in these webinars that I've been on. They
Right.
just post their questions with their name when they choose.
Yeah.
See, the thing about the
Moderators
webinar
can
is it's
say-
much more moderated than a meeting like
Yeah.
this is.
Mhm.
I
But
mean, I'm
unless that-
I'm really only
Thank
here
you.
to set up the YouTube and to
They conclude it.
ask, answer any questions. A webinar is very moderated, where you're letting people continuously in and out.
Mhm. That's like early in the year when a lot of parents had questions about how the school would handle COVID. I mean, there'd be like 1,000 people joining, and you'd see a
Yes.
stream of questions,
Yes.
and there'd be maybe one of us would be monitoring the Q&A and typing answers while the rest speak, and
Right.
all those people don't get to speak; they just type the questions.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So I think Terry, it may be worth it to ask Diane if we need like a dry run or like an explanation of like how we should go about, I mean, is it just like for us, our experience, is it just like this? We just get on and then whoever
Yeah, I mean,
John says go and we go.
Yeah, I mean, if you figure out exactly how your meeting wants to go, we could figure out if a webinar is a better fit or just a meeting where we're just letting a person in at a time. Like there's a group that does interviews, and so sometimes we'll have like 4 or 5 applicants for an interview, and they're not a webinar. The general public is not involved. Okay, so they're out in the waiting room, and you can communicate with them in the waiting room, and we'll say, 10 minutes, we should be over. We let them in, they have their interview, and then they go back to the waiting room and leave if they want, and then the next person comes in. So if that's what is going to work for you, then that would be fine.
We have,
That's not what I
sorry.
pictured.
Yeah.
I pictured all the grantees being on the screen with us.
And you could do that as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to just have one person at a time. But I guess it really depends on how many we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be too confusing, Leslie. If there were 20 people, the squares get really small and it might be really hard to follow along.
That's something
or
to
distract-
consider. It.
I don't know, but that's kind of fun. The fun part. I mean, like I attended the swim team banquet via Zoom last night, And there was more than 20 people. There was like 40 screens, and you just page through the screens. There's like 3-4 screens of people, but all the swimmers were live video, and all the parents had to shut off their video, so you could just see. And all the videos are front loaded, so all the videos are up front, and then anybody who's not in the video is pages after. So it was really pretty good. It does exactly what I think we want to do.
Yeah.
So we have both parts. We have grantees who we would like to have participate in the meeting, either coming in order, or if possible, having them all at once with us. And then the other part would be, we would like our community to participate and engage with the grantees and ask questions if they want to. So it seems like we would need both somehow to work.
My sense is that what would serve or check the most boxes might just be the webinar. And if there are people from the community that want to be a part of it, they could. If people don't, then they don't. But I also like the idea of doing Thursday nights, because that kind of feels like our time slot.
Yeah,
our brand.
people are used to coming and viewing our meeting at Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, so John, I guess I ask you to switch hats. You know, we said talk to Diane, but I believe you're IT. And in either of these scenarios, is the town able to technically host it, be it a Zoom or a webinar? And would somebody like you or another town person need to be the moderator, or would one of us do that? So I guess it's a technical question. Are we technically able to go down either of these paths, and it's just a matter of working out the details?
I believe there are some meetings where members are the host, and I think it really has come down to who's comfortable doing it and who's not comfortable doing it. And so there's really only about maybe 3 to 5 of us that host these meetings, and it's really because, you know, a lot of people just aren't comfortable doing it themselves. But if one of you is comfortable doing it, then we could definitely ask. You know, there's certain protocols we have to ascribe to, like, you know, the YouTube video, getting it on an archive and stuff like that. But no, I don't think that there's any real reason for me to be here, you know, except to just follow the protocols by the state.
And so then, aside from hosting, but also to use whatever, a town Zoom or a town webinar account?
Yes.
Those
So
are viable possibilities.
Yes. So we have one webinar account, and we now have 3 meeting accounts. This is considered a meeting as opposed to a webinar. So, and we just got that actually in the last week, because we found out that we had a couple nights where we had 3 or 4 meetings going on. So, so yeah, I mean, I could find out definitely, but, you know, I think typically they want one of us who are used to hosting the meetings to do it, just so we get it right. We don't get in trouble with the state about, you know, the archives.
That would be my preference. Then
Yeah, sure.
And not distracting.
Yeah, and I think definitely for a webinar, you're going to want, you know, like I am not very experienced with webinars. My boss, David Kane, and Chief Parenti, and we actually hired a person to do a lot of these meetings. He doesn't even work he works for the town now, but he's not really an employee, because we were so stretched thin on hosting these meetings. There is a person named Jim that does a lot of these hostings. I don't know. Have you met Jim?
Yeah. Jim
okay.
Okay.
So Jim really does a lot of the big webinars, and so I think, you know, there's so much moderating going on for those meetings that you would want to focus on what you're doing for the meeting and forget about the moderating part.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I just want to confirm though, if we do have a webinar, are we still able to have our grant recipients show up in one of the Zoom squares, like in video, and do their?
Oh yes, certainly, certainly.
Good.
Yes.
Because they're still a participant.
Yes.
So we
right.
just consider them like part of the council.
Right. So when the invitation goes out, you get a separate invitation that allows you to be here. Okay. Whereas in a webinar, the general public would get a link that they would click on that allows them to go into the rating room, and that's it. And then they're not allowed in until they either raise their hand or are allowed in. So you would send your grantees the same link that Selvi you would get yourself, and they would show up in this meeting.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have any other questions on that. It feels like a webinar is the right way to go so that we can open it up to the grantees and the community.
And if you'd like, I could send you a link to a webinar coming up in the next week or two, and you can see how it works. You could follow it yourself and say, oh yeah, that's exactly how we want to do it, or we could probably make it work with just the regular meeting.
If I understood correctly on the webinar, you're proposing the different grantees would not all be on at the same time.
They could possibly.
I'm in favor of that. I agree with Suzanne. Having the community interact afterwards is wonderful. And I also believe the various grantees would probably be interested in seeing who else, received something, and it's all one big happy group.
Yeah.
So if the webinar can facilitate that, where everybody can see, as each group is getting something, saying something, I think it's nice to give them that option.
See, if you're just inviting select people, say like 10 or 20 people, you don't really need to do a webinar. We can do that right just like a meeting like this. What the webinar does is it allows anybody, somebody from Houston, Texas, to join the meeting and ask a question if they want. Whereas right now, anybody not invited to this meeting only sees the YouTube live video, and they're not directly participating. They're just watching a recording of this meeting. They can't ask a question. They can't do anything like that. So what the webinar does, there's certain meetings that we have that have to be open to the public. Like a lot of the zoning board of appeals meetings, planning board meetings, there are a lot of those are webinars. So if you really don't want to open up to the public, we can invite 20, 30, 50 people to a meeting like this if you'd wish.
We do want the public though, right? So.
Okay, yeah, and that's fine. That's the difference. That's the big difference in the meeting and the webinar.
Yeah, in the past, we sent out a public invitation via publicity in different publications and town site and all that. So it was open to everybody. It would be nice to keep it that way if we can.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll add the webinar link there.
Yep, and then invite speakers like our representative, Ann Hirsch, and any other state representatives that would be available too. That would work.
Sure, you just got to remember we have one license, and you'd have to schedule it a few weeks in advance through Diane and Linda to make sure there's not another webinar that night. Typically, the webinars, because of the nature of them, are a lot longer than the meetings.
Okay.
So I think we could do that. Maybe April is a good enough lead time, but we could find out if our date supports that. So that's definitely something we could do.
Sure.
The other thing that you talked about having speakers, I think that if anybody cannot come, we can always show a video, share a screen, whatever we do. The moderator can and show a video of them giving some sort of address. So we have that option, Terry, for anybody who wants to say something, especially of our state representatives, to, a short 2 minutes to whatever they want to say about the importance of what the program's about. We can always show it as a video. They record themselves. And I think if we lock in a date, I think from here to April 8th, I think that gives everybody enough time to do that. So Terry, you're going to have to do this email like tonight so that Diane Guaco gets it first thing in the morning, because tomorrow's Friday and usually the town closes early on Friday, right? We need to know before March 1st if it's definitely April 8th. March 1st is a Monday, is it not?
Yes.
Yes, it's a Monday.
I think we may have a couple of days of flexibility because March 1st is when we have to complete report to the state.
Okay.
And then we have to wait for them to okay our report. They have to
all right. Good. All right.
And then after that, we can send the letters. But it's usually, maybe it's March 2nd when we have to send the letters.
All right. So we'll have Monday for her to respond back, because then that'll be in our invitation to our grantees.
Yes.
That is April 8th.
Okay. Yeah, I sent a message to Diane tonight, but I will request webinar for April 8th at 7 o'clock. And then see how, okay, this is great, guys.
And I wouldn't put the end time at 8:30. I'd put the end time more like 9:15, even though we'll say it's 8:30, because when have we ever not gone over? So
Stop it.
tell the IT
Just say it starts at 7. There's
Tell
no
the
end
IT
time.
people it's 9:30, but tell everybody else it's 8:30.
Oh, when we were at the library, we had to have a hard stop at 8:30.
Yeah, because they were closing
You
down.
know what I'm saying.
So we can do that too.
Shut off at 7:30.
Yeah.
Like John can go home, so to speak.
The other thing is that if we can talk about, if I can move to another item, their certificates. So we probably
Thank you, John.
out
Thank
to
you,
our
John.
officials to understand what
problem.
we want to do there, whether or not we're doing that or not. And it's fine either way. I think we should, but I'll go with the majority. But it'd be nice if it went out with the letters as well, all at one thing. I know we're emailing, but we also send out a traditional letter, I believe. And if it went with that and anything that the state people had to provide.
Wait, I'm sorry. You want it to
Separately?
go out like around the March 1st, 2nd time frame?
Well,
Or
I
and
ideally would like
after?
it to go out so it shows up with a state certificate, like Sylvia
Yeah.
had done, and it shows up somewhere around April 5th, 6th, or 7th.
Oh, okay.
That would
I
be my
get you.
ideal way of doing it, so it shows up right before
Before the event.
the event, so
Okay.
that it gives them a little bit of, oh yeah, but that would just be me thinking about marketing and hype. And you send it out now in April, that's a month and a half away. It kind of,
The only thing is we don't know if the senators and representative will be providing a certificate.
Citations, yeah. So what
Right.
happens usually, Suzanne, is that when we invite them, and we can only invite our state representatives through email, that's the best way they prefer. So we already have drafted letters we used in the past year, so we would have to modify it for this year's grantee reception. And somebody from their office normally gets back, in this case would be to Terry, and ask them, would you like us to bring citations? And I always said, that would be so wonderful. Thank you so much. And they were hand delivering the citations at the event, at the time of the event. So I don't know how that's gonna work under these circumstances. So maybe they will be mailing the certificates to the town office. And then once we receive them, we will have to mail them out. So we would have to.
yeah, I think that would be great. What I'd like to do is to have them with our certificate. So whatever gets mailed to them, that it be joint. So either they mail them to Terry, they mail them to the town, and then we put them with their other certificate and then mail both out at the same time. And that it arrives somewhere shortly before the reception. That would be my,
Hopefully.
you know what I'm,
Yeah.
we arrange it so that way.
I just
I
want to
can-
restate what I'm hearing. So at the beginning of the week, it's the acceptance letter that needs to go out and an invitation. The second piece of that, or the second mailing would be, what, is that what you're saying, Suzanne? So second mailing, so first mailing, the acceptance letter and invitation saying,
Come.
hopefully it's, yeah, and I think because we wouldn't have a Zoom link, it would be, oh, find the Zoom link somewhere. Or the,
So
That's a
Terry,
separate-
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
it's okay. I was gonna say, we normally do that.
okay,
And then at the event, we normally hand them 2 sheets of paper. One is one we always done, and then Selby was able to get some of our representatives to do this second step, and so we handed them 2 sheets of paper
okay,
at the
I realize
event.
that,
2
okay.
certificates. One's our certificate, and one is the accommodation by whoever Selby got to make an accommodation. I'm suggesting we load that up beforehand so that we can have them both and just mail them early April, April 1st, April 2nd, so that they get them shortly before the grantee reception.
Okay, all right.
Delby wants to say.
Through the chair, I think that would be good. I think we have to kind of put the events in order. We have to have a timeline. So the first thing would be to finalize the report with MCC so they can give us the green light to send out the approval letters. Once we get the approval letters, we would have to send our, once we get the approval from the state, we would have to send approval letters to our grantee receptions. But in the meantime, hopefully we'll hear back from Diane Rackle that we'll be able to host a webinar and the meeting and give the right link to the right participant in that email as well. And then we would have a third round of emails and or generating letters to invite guests. Like we always invited Board of Selectmen, other committee and council members in town, principals of schools, superintendent, director of library, director of historical society, so on and so forth, our state representatives, and our state senators even. So it goes out to a wide range of, so there would be like 3 steps to do within next week. The good news is we already have all of this work ready from last year. We would just have to modify them. The bad news is we have to wait until we hear back from Diane and get the correct links and put the correct links to the right participants.
Okay. All right. So I guess I just have to wait until I get to talk with Diane. I'll make sure I'm on her doorstep tomorrow morning. Oh, no. Her response, her automatic response is that she's not available until Monday.
Oh,
That should work
Okay.
fine because
yeah, Monday will
the
be fine.
MCC still has to approve us, and that's a day or two.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah. So
We're
we
not
get another
late.
day. Yeah, Monday is fine after we, so we updated, yeah.
Yeah, so my guess is we'll probably get the approval letters to the grantees, and I'm just guessing sometime Wednesday or Thursday, and the rest of the invitations on probably Friday or Saturday. That's normally, it takes about a week's worth of time to finish this work.
Okay.
So then we should, next step should divide the work as to like who's gonna write or update the letters, the invitations. You know, we have public invitations and we have invitations to these important folks like senators and representatives. We're gonna get right. We send out something to community advocate, all of that. We should work on that this week because we only have about exactly a week to get all that updated.
I think there was a list that Selby had from the past somewhere.
Yes, I still
Yeah.
have it. So I updated the approval letters. Everybody would have to make their own copy. So I think last time we talked that everybody would be sending 3 letters out.
Mhm.
So everybody knows whose letters go, you know, who has to send whom the approval letters. I have invitation from past years, but of course we would have to modify it to the virtual format. And if anybody would like to do that, that'd be wonderful.
Glad to. So this is just the invitation to the event
The reception.
So
reception.
there are 2 different, actually 3 different invitations. We have an invitation for grantee recipients. We have an invitation for guests like our selectmen, representatives, community members, and then we have a general public invitation.
It's an invitation. It's just worded differently depending on the group you go
Mhm.
into.
Mhm.
Okay.
The first 2 are personalized letters, and the third public invitation is almost like an announcement.
So grantees, public,
Significant others.
and what was the second one?
Yes, like town people, representatives,
Dignitaries.
community, yeah, dignitaries. So.
Dignitaries is a good category.
So like selectmen or whomever. Okay.
Dignitaries or dignified people.
I was looking for that word. I'm typing out my minutes and I'm like, I'm calling them important people. And I was like, this is not
No,
what
because that implies everybody else is
I need a better word than important people.
dignitaries. I know that's the right word here.
So now that we have our vocabulary, we need to divide. Everybody's doing their approval letters. We're good so far. So we need to then generate 3 different invitations. And I don't know how we want to divide that up.
So, and you also mentioned some press.
Somewhat.
Some press.
So
So,
the third
press,
invitation
yeah.
to the public needs to go to multiple channels. One invitation, but through multiple channels. So we have to like post it on our
I'll do that one because I usually do that one. I think it's already in the format that it's supposed to be in anyway, because it was like,
And if we could write
it
something
was for the press, and that one can go on Facebook and all that.
and
So
one
I'll-
that has verbiage that they like
Yeah.
verbiage for the advocate. You know, they don't take pictures or
Yeah, and it's going to be
What you
short and
recommend.
sweet and, not too busy, all that, but
Yeah.
with some graphics. So I'll do the public one.
So Big, that one would have the webinar link.
Yes.
And all the other 2 invitations would have the Zoom meeting link, the same link you and I will get.
Yeah.
But
The
the public
participant-
one would get the webinar link. So
Yeah.
they will have.
they're all Bic with the difference. There's
Yeah.
2 different links depending on what category you're
Could
in.
you ask Terry what, or maybe John can answer, whether it's, I thought it was the same link, but how you enter, not really the same link, but how you enter as a participant versus the public. I don't
no.
At least with
It's not
Cisco
like
and
2
some other
different-
applications it is, but Zoom's webinar application, we just have to wait till John tells us. Or when you get the response back from
from Diane. We need
Diane,
to
she'll
ask her.
tell us the different,
Okay, so the question
invited people
is,
versus public. Huh?
I guess
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
question
ask
is, how do we get in? What's our link versus the public's link?
John,
So-
are you able to answer that question? Is there a separate link for us versus the public when it comes
Yes,
to webinars?
Yes, so you would get a link similar to what you always get, which is, to show up here as a participant. And then the general public, the people that aren't directly invited, would get another link, and that would get them into the waiting room in a separate area with a whole bunch of other folks waiting to, either speak their piece or just watch or whatever they want to do.
Okay,
So yes, it would be very similar to you all would get the same link.
Mhm.
got it. Okay.
And our guests would get the same link as we do. The guests.
yes,
up
Yeah,
yes.
there.
grants or
Mhm.
grantees and all that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's important.
I guess we can call them guest participants because they're not regular participants.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of there's attendees and there are participants, and I can't remember exactly. I haven't done a webinar in a while, so I can't remember exactly how it works. But that's you guys would get the same link that you always get. You'd be let in as you're always let in, and then it would be the outside participants that would be let in selectively.
Okay,
And usually we are supposed to arrive early, like 10, 15 minutes early, kind of set up kind of thing. Because, I know at work when we have like a town hall and, my director and all the managers, we get on first, we sync ourselves up, like who, what you're saying and then passing off, just kind of quick review what you're doing. And then when we open it up to the rest of the organization,
Yes.
we're already sitting there looking perfect and
Yes.
ready.
And that's a moderator's nightmare, is you have 100 people waiting. You don't know if their camera's working right.
Yes.
You don't know if their microphone's working right. So some of the webinars can be a little bit sticky at times, but I think most overall they've gone okay.
Yeah.
Is there any way that when we request of Diane, there's a day that no one's using it on the weekend, that we can set one up as a trial run so that we look a little more professional?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's what I was mentioning before. If we need a dry
Absolutely.
run, just so we know what
Absolutely.
Saturday morning, and we can find some kids to be our
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Like I said, I'll try to remember tomorrow to send you all a link to a webinar that's coming up maybe next week, so you can see how it works.
great.
But that way you will be a little more practice with the software.
Oh, sure, but I think that'll just give you the basic gist of how the webinars work,
Okay.
as opposed to just a meeting like this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, John, but with your dog barking in the background,
Oh yes,
I'm gonna have to kick you out of the meeting.
no, I know. I'm going right now. She hears me talking. And she comes from 2 floors up to run down to say, "Hey, who's Grampy talking to?"
Yeah.
So, she does that. But my daughter works at home, and she has to hide when she has a Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
because the dog just seeks her out and thinks that there's more people in the house than there is.
Very cute.
She's one of those dogs that has a ball in her mouth 24/7.
Oh,
So
so
cute.
cute.
So cute.
So cute.
Oh,
Thank you.
exercise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. No problem.
Okay, so
That answered a lot more than I didn't even know that items or issues existed. So how does everybody feel about that? Does anybody have it?
I think
well,
it
so
is
who's
what it
gonna
is.
work on the grantee invitation and the guest invitation? We still got 2 more categories.
I can generate the grantee invitation because that's going to be the same for I'll take the easy one. It's going to be the
Same
same
for
for every
everybody.
grantee.
I get the
Blank-
certificates
blanket
printed out. I
invitation,
made them
yeah.
already. So I'll
Yes.
finish the certificates, get them printed out, and Selby, if you give me the link to or whatever correspondence, if you want to write to the person who made the certificates from the state, or if you
Yeah.
want me to, whatever's easiest.
So, and then I have a whole list of dignitaries and that need individualized invitation. So it would be great if anybody would volunteer to do that.
Okay, first I'm trying to write this down so I know who's doing what. Vic is doing the press. So,
Public, yeah.
yep, announcement, and but you would first need to have a link. So
Yeah, no problem. My thing can come out after everything, so I can be the last thing out.
So I'm guessing Facebook, if we're allowed to
Mhm.
put anything on,
Yeah.
maybe on the town page, something like that.
Yep.
Just
Cover
so
all that.
create the buzz. And Selvi, what
Your
did
center. Huh?
what
I'm preparing the invitations for grantees, grant recipients. And everybody else is at the same time preparing the approval letters for 3
Mhm.
of their assigned grantees.
What about are you in your invitation including directions for people who cannot attend? What
Yeah.
they should be said? Okay, so you've got that covered. Okay.
We have already included that from past years anyways. If they could not physically do it, they had the option of sending us their materials and our video. So it's already in the wording.
Okay.
And I had put it into the PowerPoint. So I don't know if someone else wants to do it, I can step aside. If no one does, I can do it again. But either's fine. Totally
Wait
okay.
for Leslie. Leslie's like, I'm not doing it.
So the other thing is I have the certificates ready to go. Sylvie, if you would reach out for whoever wrote the state thing, I will handle the mailing of both when their time is appropriate.
Okay, no problem.
If
I've
you want
always
me to
done the
reach out,
physical things, the food and other stuff. You guys have this all down, so.
Leslie, you do all the
There's no
food
food
and
this time.
catering?
I know, I'm
Are you
saying,
gonna
why
cater to-
bother? Why am I even coming to these meetings?
Okay, I'd like to give you the certificates to do,
No,
and I'll do the PowerPoint, huh?
no, thank you.
You do the guest invitation.
Okay.
That would be at
Yeah,
Leslie's house when all the
dignitaries.
catering is delivered to her house.
Yeah, I can
We're all
cook.
gonna be in her living room doing it.
keep the guys at the door?
Leslie, actually, it would be great if you had the time to do the guest invitations, like to the Board of Selectmen,
The dignitaries.
Director of Library, the school principals, so on and so forth.
It's the same invitation. It's just who it's
Just email
addressed to.
everybody,
Yeah.
follow up with everybody and say.
I
when
can
I'm-
share a whole folder from previous years with you, and you'll
And
have.
this is
all the-
by email, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to track who is and isn't coming. So
Then we just have a Google sheet.
Yeah.
Something where we can say, okay, they said yes or no or maybe.
Mhm. In the past, Lori took care of that tracking, and she's not here, but we can see if she would like to do it again.
Okay, so I'm
Leslie,
backing up because or maybe, let's see, Vic is the press. All of us do our three
Mhm.
grantees that we had, and we are sending them the acceptance letters or the invitations. What,
Oh,
I
Invitation.
lost me on some of this.
Everybody's doing their
Well-
own acceptance letters.
Which includes the invitation, so you have to wait for Selby's invitation. Is this just 2 items and anything else on like W4 documentation or W2, whatever?
yeah,
Or we send
so
out-
I'll email the list that needs to be included. So it will be the approval letter, their W9, blank W9 for them to fill out, reimbursement cover sheet, and then it would be the invitation. There would be 4 items to go as attachments in that email. And because of that, we convert everything into a PDF, so they're not too large.
Okay. All right. You know I'll be asking questions if I make sure I don't miss something here. Okay, first step is going to be to make sure we can secure the date with Diane then. Step 1. Is there anything else that I've missed here, or I think that's really it. I think
Mhm.
and hopefully we have a lively group of people that are able to come and say some nice things and talk about their art. That would be wonderful. I can see this being a fun meeting if somebody like, I don't know, I'm just throwing out of a name because it's the first one that's coming off, but a chorus or Ed Harlow playing a bar or little bit of music. I don't know if that's okay or not, or
That's true. In the past, if we knew who we wanted to invite to do like last year, right? We would ask that person specifically, so they had like an extra few sentences in their this compilation of 4 items that get sent to them. We also said, kind of like, you're special, could you please, would you mind like sort of being part of our event and playing something or singing something? So do we want to nominate or ask, consider one of these folks to do something other than just speak?
So here's where it could get interesting if I'm thinking of like a course, say Assabet Valley Master Singers. What I recall from last year is that there was a whole group that got up to sing something or part of a selection. I don't know if that would be too difficult. So maybe somebody like, for instance, like an Ed Harlow.
A single person.
Right. So that it's not a logistical chaos nightmare for a John Sabatini to navigate.
It could also be that they provide a video of their performance.
that's easier.
So-
That's true. That's true. How about we think more about that for our next meeting, because that does kind of make it. I mean, you have to. I mean, to make it like special, like it's better if it's actually live and the person could actually play the guitar live. But then, do they feel like they need a microphone? No, this sounds pretty good, but you never know when you start to have an instrument or something with the singing. It may. Interact with the microphone, you're not sure about what happens there, right? But then if you watch the video, then we'll have to switch over to the video. So we have to be pretty smooth in our transition, because that was like basically our opening act. So you got to start with that, then come back to all of us and, pass from one speaker to another speaker. So
There is a good point to live. It kind of makes it a little bit more real. So there is a good point to that. It a little bit more fun to watch.
Really kind of cool. Yeah, something different.
I think it would be a treat if we could pull it off and have it live. And it'll be nice no matter what, because we need this. We need this. I don't have any other thoughts on this now because some of this is all really new for me. So that's, does anybody have anything else? Because I think we've gone through the agenda. Suzanne. Oh, you're on mute?
I just motion that we conclude.
Okay.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
We would be remiss if we didn't say recruiting.
Recruiting. Yes.
So we could start taking turns posting things on social media and such, or I can't remember if somebody had the action item to ask the town to put something on town message boards as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do, I mean, I can do like a little one pager that we put in the front of our town website, right, on our site, on the town, whatever. We can also put on Facebook. And then having them come or at least listen into during the grant reception is a good introduction of what we do and who we support. So in the next month here, there's a good timing for all of that.
This is excellent timing.
Right. I do have an update. What is my update?
I do have to leave. I apologize, and thank you, everybody. And
Thank you, Selby.
I'll have everything ready to go. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so my update is just so everybody else know, Lori had worked on editing the piece on our virtual fest that Terry had written. So we are sending that over to the MCC, hopefully to get into the next newsletter. I looked all through that email that comes from MCC, and I didn't find a source that I could send to. Sometimes at the bottom they'll say, you know, for any questions, reply to so and so. There was nothing like that, and even if I looked at the entire staff, they're all like program oriented, so or geographically responsibility. I just forwarded to Louis Cotto, and I'm like, Louis, help, you know, who do you know that we can get this into the right hands so that we can be published. So hopefully that'll happen for us.
Okay.
I'm going to leave very shortly, so just to let you know, I'm going to leave at 7:15.
Okay. Yep. I was also thinking about what have you done in the past? Do you have like me as a point person, or if you have questions or want to volunteer, go to the town website, because I'm happy to submit a bulletin board memo with, you know, quick points. Hey, join us, join the fun. And then that plays on the bulletin board for the town public channel. What is the preferred method? Anything? Okay.
I don't think there is a preferred. What you said is fine.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting the exciting message out there.
Okay.
Terry, as part of the website also, we have the town subscription news. So when you look on the front page of the town website, there's a town news scroll, and people subscribe to that. And so when we post something there, it not only posts to the front page of the website, but it emails everybody that subscribes to that. And there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people that subscribe to that. So in addition to putting it on the Cultural Council page, we could put it in the town news, and it would go out to those 4,000 or 5,000 people.
And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We could leave it up there as long as you want, and you know.
Yeah, we want to know people to know that we're here. And
yes.
Yep. Involve them.
Yep. You know, we did that with I think it was. Wasn't there a questionnaire a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how we did it.
Yeah. So is that just text, like a paragraph, or is that like a document, a picture? What format does it come in?
It would be a document. Yep. So if you send us a PDF is the preferred document, it would go out in the town news. It would go on the front page of the Cultural Council, and then it would get emailed to everybody that subscribes to the town news.
Wow. That's huge.
That's awesome for our grant reception. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, John. You're the guy. You should have your own spot on our agenda now.
I'm only here another month, so that's it.
No.
Where are you going?
Retiring.
No, oh, good for you. Wow.
Yep, the end of March is that Friday, the 26th is my last day.
Wow.
Ooh.
For you.
Yeah, I've been here 20 years. That's good enough.
For you. Did not know.
Mhm.
Thank you
I-
so much.
If this goes on into the summertime where we're doing Zoom meetings, I might be around from time to time if they need somebody to fill in, but we haven't really determined that yet.
Okay. Yep. All in progress. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, does anybody have anything else or do you have let's see, next meeting, we've got all of that.
I was going to suggest that maybe Laurie can do the letters to the dignitaries and I will keep track of who's coming to the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's what I propose.
Okay, that's fine with me. I guess we'll have to see if hopefully Lori's available. All right. So okay, I am making my notes so I can set this up on my side. All right. Does anybody have a motion? Okay,
Motion we end the meeting?
I second the motion.
so Suzanne is first, Leslie is second to adjourn. And can I, show of hands, Vic,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
myself, and I call this meeting to an end and it's 7:44.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.